Alright, before I start my demonstration, I'd like to talk about what I'm doing today. You have seen me using the profile rib to throw a munjar type of vases, and this is my version number 3. I do a little bit of a modification because when I am using my number 1, the hole is a little bit too small and the thickness is a little bit too thin. So that's version number 2. I kind of increased the thickness, but with that, I still find out there's no reason to do 2 different curves, since I make it thicker. So if I'm holding it in different angle, I could have a multiple different kind of curve. But here it's little bit too skinny, and when I'm pushing it, there's nothing here for my finger or my palm to hold it on, so it's slightly too thin. That's why I like to make the version number 3. So this part here is a little bit thicker, but still, because I couldn't get enough width of my wooden board, so actually this one should go all the way to here to connect it. So here I have a hand to support it. So my final version will be a little bit wider here for the hand to grip on it. But I'm gonna use this one anyway to do the test on how the curve is working, if the curve is working or not. Right. So that's my plan for doing the demonstration today. In case you are wondering what is the weight of this piece of clay, it's about 3.5 pounds. Okay, 3.5 pounds. And I'm throwing on my aluminum bed system, so at the done, I could just pick it up. Okay, pick it up from there to save the space for storage for putting on the shelf. Okay, centered. Push it all the way till the right thickness. Usually, if you watch my video, it's somewhere between 3/8 of inch to 1/2 inch. And then just move the finger across the bottom to make it wider. Compressing the floor. Right, color the clay to make it a little bit narrower, especially the base. My right finger is pushing, okay, bring the clay and pushing it, so the corner or the clay here is smaller, and I get to use all the clay from the corner. Right, and then my initial lifting is going to be, since this is not very big, so I'm going to just use my thumb and the finger to lift it up. Make sure the surface is slippery enough, and then brace my right hand on the thumb here, so my left hand will be more stable, and then just raise the wall up. Remove the slip from my fingertips and then put it on the inside to coat it. And when my initial lifting, the inside the corner from the top, you can see that there's a little slightly curve there. And usually you want to use the most of the clay, so I am going to push that curve a little bit sharper. The corner, push it so that I will have a sharper corner, 90 degrees at least. So now my left hand is compressing the floor again. And here I could move the clay up from this bottom. So again, squeeze the clay and make sure slippery. And when you color, you can slightly increase the speed of the wheel and compress the rim. Again, remove the slip of my fingertip and put it on the inside of the wall. For outside, I just dip my finger in the water and then coat it. So before you move, make sure everywhere is slippery. Okay, slippery is very important. Right now, there's a little belly here, and my thumb is going to fit underneath of the belly. And you see that since my left thumb can come out, so I extended my left thumb here. So you see that all of them are very stable. I rest my elbow on my left, so it's very stable here. And bring the clay from the bottom corner and raise it up. Remove the slip, put it back to work. Dip my hand in the water and slightly brush it over to the outer part of the cylinder. Okay, I'm going to start to lift again. Bring the corner in. You don't have to go all the way up. If your elbow, when you lift it, you don't feel very comfortable, just stop in the middle and then just change your position. And you continue to pull it up. And this part here, since I am not pulling it up, so this part here is a little bit thicker, I can come back here and just raise it up. Okay, so that is the lifting method. And now I'm going to bring my profile rib number 3 to get the curve. So I am going to start to push out against my rib here. And you see that this is a larger curve, but if I'm holding my rib this way, actually the curve is smaller. First, I will hold my rib this way, and later if I want to go a little bit wider, I can turn my rib this way. Make sure it is slippery. And slightly push that against the rib. Okay, here is touching, but the bottom isn't, so I could keep on pushing the bottom. Okay, slightly touch now. And then I am going to turn my rib this way, so that I still have room for me to go. You can see from the angle, there's still gap there. So I could push that this part here out, so it's against here. So I'm holding my rib this way and push that against it. Okay, so that is the profile rib to get a curve. And unless I have a little more curve, otherwise I won't be able to push it all the way, because that's the limit of this shape here. Okay, that's the most I can get from this curve. For the profile rib, unless my curve is go in very further, otherwise that is the limit. And if you want to make it even wider, you can stretch it without the profile rib. Profile rib is probably when you start it, so you give yourself for a little bit guide, and then later you could just stretch it without the profile rib. Because the reason I designed the profile rib is that a lot of beginners, they don't know how to use the metal rib. So if you have this profile rib to guide you through, and then now even you don't have any rib at all, you can slightly stretch from the inside, so that without touching the outside, you can stretch more curve. Right? Okay. And if you know how to use the metal rib, you can bring the rib here to kind of remove the throwing mark. So I am bringing out my metal rib and slightly bend it to smooth the surface a little bit. Okay, smooth the surface a little bit. And if you want to increase the volume, okay, more like a munja shape, you can go back there and then push it even without any rib at all on the outside. Basically, it's the inside hand is doing the stretching job. And just remember, you have to do this slowly, okay? And then look at the profile here, see what is the curve you like, and you can stretch it more. See, without any rib on the outside, we can blow up the volume. And I'm going to work on the neck here. Make sure I keep it slippery, so I brush a little bit water here and slightly squeeze it using the sponge too. So there's a little water there and slightly slippery. Now I'm ready to close it. Before I close it, this part here, you don't want to be too horizontal, so I push it up a little bit here. Go back there and slightly push here on the shoulder, push the volume, push the curve here on the shoulder. Okay, and shrink the neck. Use my index finger to hold it at the top, and then just shrink it, push it. Okay, push this way. With my index finger, hold the top and slightly increase the speed of the wheel and close it. And here it gets a little bit wobbly. I am coming back there and slightly support. Also, you can use a rib to support and smooth the curve. And here the clay is slightly thick, so I am going to squeeze it up. And when the diameter is smaller, you can slightly increase the speed of the wheel. Use a sponge to slightly lubricate it, and I'm going to pull it up taller using my other method of shrinking it. It's like a crawl. Okay, crawl. Pinch there, and then the right hand is supporting it, and pull it up. I didn't even talk because I was concentrating on making this part here smooth without getting too much wobbly. So what I did was try to shrink it, and when the cylinder it's become narrow, you actually need to increase the speed so that it's not twist. The speed control for shrink the very thin neck is very important. Make sure that you speed up a little bit. Right, so now this one is done, and then I'm going to just chop up the corner using my number 17 for the corner. This part here on the bottom is flat, it's not very sharp, so you can hold it against the bat, and make sure you pull the clay off when you cut it. And I'm holding the other way. Okay, this slightly sharpened. It's not very sharp so that it doesn't cut your finger, but you can use this part here to trim the clay off. And make sure when you trim it off, remove the clay so it doesn't stick back on. Remove it. So this is the wet trimmer. You can trim, remove the excessive clay from the corner, and put a little style on the very corner. Put a little round curve there. If you are planning to trim, actually you don't bother to make it nice. But if you are not going to trim, put a little style there that will look nice. All right, put a little style there. The top is slightly wobbly. You can see that it's not, one side is slightly thicker. I wouldn't worry about it. Later I could just trim it, okay? Spin the wheel and trim it so that I don't mess up the rim. If you don't spin the wheel, actually you won't be able to tell. Okay? You won't be able to tell it. But if you spin it, you can see that the top is slightly off. This part here, slightly more clay on the other side. Okay, so that is the main test of this profile rib. I think it's working out okay. I would prefer a little bit more room here so my hand can grab a little bit stronger. Okay. So when I'm putting this to the production, I will have the manufacturer do that, okay, for me. But I'm running out of the wood, so that's why there's not here. Okay. Cleaning up my bed system. When the clay is soft, when the clay is wet, you can clean it up easier. Okay, so that is my demonstration today. Hope it helped. for making something that is skinny. I spent quite some time doing this part right. Okay, doing this part right. Especially very skinny, you have to be very patient and remember the speed is very important. Alright, thanks for watching and see you next time.